Oh, I don't say that.
My line.
Go.
Hello.
And welcome back to Party Chick Astrology. I'm Nina.
I'm Shaina.
And this is the 5th house.
Oh my god.
Yes!
Oh my
Oh my god.
Oh my god. So in case you guys haven't heard, we do have an Instagram now. It'll be linked down below if you just want to get little updates about our channel, know when our readings are back in stock, post little fun polls and questions every day. We're much more interactive, right? If you want to say hi, what's up, we're here.
If you would like a reading, we offer those on our website, partychickastrology.com/shop is where you can go straight to the readings. Currently, our readings are out of stock, but you can follow the Instagram to know when they are back in stock. Right now, what we do have in stock is an astrology course that we will be teaching after this house series. This house series happens to be supplemental to the astrology course, and you can learn a lot about how to read a chart, everything from the basics to the big leagues of astrology that can help you so much in your personal development, or if you would like to begin reading charts yourself.
And something that I think the astrology course will teach you that our videos or anybody's astrological videos cannot is how to read and interpret a chart as a whole.
Yes.
Because while we do say like this is this placement, this is this placement, this is this placement, it's generic, it's broad, and you really have to understand how things talk to each other, how things work out.
The integration of
it all, and that's really what the astrology course can teach you. It's knowing why that got there, how it got there with the person, and how it affects
it's influence
them.
being the aspected to other things.
Right, yeah. Rather than the quick little bits that we kind of say in the video, there's just always more information to
There's
learn
so
about
much
astrology.
to learn.
And the second that you think
And
the second that you think you know a lot about astrology, that means you don't, and you've stopped asking questions because nobody fully knows.
Along with this video, we will also have a blog post on our website, partychickastrology.com, that will break down all of the house cusp rulers that is especially good to look at if you have an empty 5th house.
On to the 5th house. Oh, what a fun house.
Yeah, so
to most people.
Yeah. Here's the main thing to take away. First of all, it's the second succedent house. It is a house that is ruled by Leo, the 5th sign.
So if you think about, since it's the second succeeding house, the one that it's supporting is the angular house of the 4th house. So you know what you do at home to unwind. And so then you go, okay, well, I've done this home stuff, but now I want to explore a little bit more.
Yes.
What do I want to do in my pastime? What do I enjoy doing? What kind of creativity can I put in the world? Let's go past these kind of the block of the 4th house, which is very, you know, the cardinal angular houses are a lot more
So
ugh,
to recap, you were born, you created a first impression, you figured out that you had hands and things and blankies and teddy bears, then you went to school, you came home from school, and now it's kind of your after school activities.
weekends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now the thing that really I think is important in looking at the 5th house as being ruled by Leo is that it is the first house that is really your shit, you know? The first house was put upon you.
Right.
The second house is about everything that you're accumulating. The 3rd house is what you're gaining as you go out there.
Environment.
The 4th house is everything that your family is instilling in you. And the 5th house is just, what do I have?
Yeah.
What's in me?
What do I like?
And that's
how
where
do I want to express myself?
and that's where creativity comes out of. It comes out of what you have inside of you.
The 5th house is really the house of self-expression.
Yes.
Obviously, you can look at the sun to see that, but you can kind of see how comfortable you are expressing the things you like, what you enjoy doing, how you have fun. It's all through the 5th house, and it also is anything you make, which is why it also rules children.
Yes. And that's going back to it's your thing, you know? It's not your family kitten. It's the kitten that you adopted.
Yeah.
It's yours. And you have your influence on it. It's more like the 5th house is what you have influence over instead of what is influencing you. Because it's Leo, you know, it's very individualistic and it's very fun. It's fire. It's the heart. Leo rules the organ of the heart and the circulatory system. So it has a lot to do with passion and love, not in the 7th house partnership sense, but in romance.
Yeah, this is a very impulsive house. This is just kind of like these natural instincts that you have as your own. Wherever you hold your interception, that house is a little bit of a different experience, right? I'm just trying not to bring my interception into the 5th house interpretation. If you have a fifth house interception, I do too. I was never really given any time to figure out what I liked. Creativity was given to me very intensely because I have Pluto in there and all this stuff, but like I was never able to find Shaina's interests and own Shaina stuff. I don't know, like it gets so personal because like I have Chiron in there, Pluto in there, and Libra's in there, so it's just...
In terms of children, it can be traits that you pass down. Whatever you have going on in your fifth house can be traits that you pass down onto your children, or they can be how you view your children, how you parent your children.
Yeah.
So my mom has her fifth house in Pisces, and my brother is a Pisces. Actually, my south node is in Pisces, so I came into this world like, hey, I was a Pisces, so I do relate to a lot of Pisces. But my dad has his fifth house in Aries, and I have an Aries interception. I have Saturn in Aries, but that's pretty much all the Aries that I have going on. But the way that he viewed me was that I was this very headstrong Aries kind of child.
If you want to see how your parents view you, you want to look towards their fifth house. I always thought I was like just my parents' child, and we all have Chiron in the fifth house, and my dad's fifth house is in Capricorn, got a lot of Capricorn, mom's fifth house is in Aquarius, and that's definitely how they parented me, how they viewed me, and then that in turn is going to be how you parent something else and what you create. Like Nina has the perfect example of the cat that she just got.
Yes, I adopted a little kitty. My fifth house is in Scorpio, and it has Pluto in there. This kitty that I just adopted, she was found with a BB gun bullet in her head. She became paralyzed in two of her legs, and then she regained movement and regained the ability to walk. They thought that they needed to amputate, and they didn't. So that is such a regeneration warrior Scorpio story. Because of that, she also has like kind of Scorpio traits of being a little skittish, a little shy, a little difficult with opening up because she has a traumatic past.
You can look to see in your fifth house if you want kids or not.
Yes.
An intercepted fifth house, like I've never wanted my own kid. I've always wanted to adopt, which is very Pluto in the fifth house as well. Somebody with a more chaotic fifth house, a more detached fifth house is going to be those people that grow up knowing, I don't want kids. I never really did. I don't get it. But somebody with a very, intense or watery or whatever it may be, or just pleasant, really good, positive fifth house, they're always going to have that thing instilled in them of like, yes, I want kids.
A Taurus fifth house, I feel like, is definitely someone who's going to want to have kids. And then that's probably a Capricorn rising.
Right.
And so that's someone who already has like a fatherly, discipline kind of nature to them.
Yeah, I think of somebody with Taurus in the fifth house as wanting one kid and investing it all into them, where somebody with like Sagittarius would want like all these kids.
And that you want to teach your kids everything that you can.
Right?
Yeah.
It also shows, like if you were to ever make something like a dance or an art project,
write a play, write a book.
The themes of those things you make are going to be found in your fifth house. So if you have a lot of war in the things that you want to make, you're probably going to have like Aries in your fifth house. If all of the stuff you make is about childhood and your child and all that stuff, you probably have like Cancer in the fifth house.
Or you draw on your past emotions, past experience to write. If your art style is more quirky, it could be Aquarius in your fifth house. And kind of your relationship also to the things that you create.
Yeah, how you feel about them. Do you feel good about it? Do you have like your sun in there and you're like, this is fucking what I made, bitch? Do you have your Saturn in there and you're like, it's not perfect, I'm not gonna ever show you.
Or just you're never satisfied with it. Or do you have Pluto in there, you're fearful of sharing, of expressing it.
Yeah, and it also rules romance and in the way of hookup culture, quick romances.
Not the long-term thing.
Not the long-term relationship. And it also rules sex, but not the 8th house deep intimacy sex. The 5th house one-night stand rendezvous
But not necessarily hookups or one-night stands, but even just the beginning,
Yeah.
The romancing part of something that can develop into a 7th house or 8th house.
Are you quick to dive into things? Are you more slow? Are you hesitant? Are you careful?
Can you even do the casual thing?
Yeah.
Are you only about the casual thing?
Yeah. It's gonna show who you're sexually attracted to as well, just who gives you that kind of surface level, I just have the hots for them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not who you want to be with always, but it's gonna be who's wiles your panties up, baby.
Is that a phrase?
No.
Lisa?
No, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It can also talk about how romantic relationships or sexual relationships affect you. Like, for example, I'm just going to keep bringing this up because it's me. Pluto in the 5th house, you're going to have very transformative experiences through romance.
If you were to have like a water sign in the 5th house, you're gonna find yourself very easily emotionally connected to somebody that you might just have a crush on. It's never just a crush, it's like this all-consuming emotional thing, right? Or if you have like an air sign in the 5th house, it's just a crush. Like, it doesn't mean much.
It's just a crush. It doesn't mean much. Do you wear your heart on your sleeve?
Right.
Do you kind of hold back? Do you go all
Jump
in
into
and
things,
don't care?
Aries 5th house, and you're gonna be super flirtatious. It shows how flirtatious you are too. I have an intercepted 5th house, so even though I have Libra in there, like, I'm not flirtatious at all. I don't know how to flirt. If you didn't have an intercepted Libra, you'd be just the flirtiest bitch around the world. You'd always be, you know, giving everybody the wink side eye. And also, rules your self-expression. So how comfortable are you with showing who you are? You know what I mean? This can also go into impact of how you dress yourself. Is definitely through the 5th house, because it shows what you create, and what you create is like can also be like what you put on the body, how you make yourself look, how much do you care about it. Is it in Pisces and you're like, what is this physical being? Or is it in Taurus and you really care about all the clothes that you put on and all that kind of stuff, and you have a lot of things?
Or is it like quality over quantity?
Right.
Minimalism.
Yeah.
So we haven't really talked about synastry in these house videos, but I think the 5th house is an important one because it is the house of romance, and specifically if you're actually looking for whether a relationship is going to be long-term, you're going to want to see if any planets fall into the fixed houses, because fixed obviously is going to lead to longevity, and the 5th house is going to incorporate that kind of like, not only is it going to last long, but there's going to be a lot of passion in it, whereas like the 2nd house, it's going to last long and you're going to gain a lot of security and comfort from that relationship, and the 8th house is going to last long, but it's because you can't leave each other.
The 5th house definitely is like the lightest house in the birth chart, at least I think, just naturally, because it's that Leo, just free to be who you are, what you love. What kind of music do you like? Your taste in music is really going to show through your 5th house. Do you like musicals, movies, TV shows? What are you most attracted to? What style are you most attracted to? This leads a little bit into the 11th house, but like they always inform each other in the sense of what you like and what you enjoy and surround yourself with can kind of be the group that then you go into, because that's what you find fun. You want to be around people that you find fun, so you can be very attracted to people that fall in your 5th house because you look at them and you go, what a good time. Like, nothing too serious takes place in the 5th house. If there's anything harsh or like intense about a relationship, it's not going to be found in the 5th house. I mean, unless you got like Pluto or like a malefic planet in there, right? Blah, blah, blah. These are going to be the kind of people that you're going to gravitate towards to enjoy life with.
Yeah, and it's also the house that is really all about your stuff, and going back to how it opposes the 11th house, the house of friendships, you need to figure out who you are before you're going to find your crew, see who you identify with. You can't identify with anything if you don't know your identity, and even though the 1st house is identity, the 5th house is just like that extra confidence of like, this is who I am on the inside, this is what I want to share. Now obviously, you couldn't already tell by this house being ruled by Leo, the negativity that can manifest from having certain planets in this house is self-involvement, self-centeredness, self-absorption, doing things because you want to, and it's out of me, and not being informed, because this 5th house isn't informed by anyone else, except for when you have children. It's not even informed by your children, it's informing your children. So because it's just a very like isolated me house, it can turn you into an isolated me driven kind of person.
Yeah, you're definitely somebody who, when you finish something, you need that standing ovation. Like if you have something like Sun, Moon, Venus, Jupiter, just any kind of planet like that, that's great. It gives you great self-expression, but it also can make you very selfish and self-absorbed. I think any placement in the 5th house can make you feel like you deserve that attention and that it should be given to you.
We know people with stelliums and suns in their 5th house that we have pretty negative experiences with, because we are 7th house people. We are all about the other. We can find that people with 5th house stelliums or suns are, they feel,
they have this kind of gross selfishness in them that they don't want to show, but it's so there.
It becomes very apparent, if it manifests negatively, that this kind of person really feels like the world owes them good.
Yeah.
And if bad things happen to them, how dare the world? Because the world only owes them good. People around them only owe them good. Their actions can come out of only their self-interest and not thinking about other people.
Yeah, I think that's a stellium thing. Like a stellium in the 5th house thing, definitely. So let's start with the sun in the 5th house. It's a very double-edged sword in my opinion. I think in some ways it is such a great placement because this is such a creative, fun-loving, light-hearted, just throw yourself into stuff, want to experience life kind of person. These are also people who, when they were younger, their creativity was fostered and harnessed, and everybody around them was like, you are creative, you are good, go out and make everything you make is great. These are the kind of parents that they'd show them their parent a shitty drawing and they'd be like, yes,
I love it, sweetie. You are the next
America's Next Top Model.
Artist. Very coddled in that way, but I would say coddled if it manifested negatively to that person becoming, like what we said, self-absorbed and all that stuff. But if that person doesn't end up being a self-absorbed prick, then I would say the word nurtured. You know?
Yeah, no, well, it's both. Because it is ruled by Leo. You get a lot of attention, so you can also give people a lot of attention. Because you know what it feels like, you've gotten that, and you know how to give people praise, give people attention, give people all this good stuff. You can then be just such a positive light in people's life. Nothing's too big of a deal. Nothing's too big of a deal. It's totally chill. But also, they can get very hurt if you forget about them, because they were never forgotten about growing up. Like, their dad just gave them a lot of attention. I see this as like the favorite child in a different way than the Pisces moon. I see this as a favorite child in the way that they can do no wrong. So my dad used to work as a music school teacher for like K through 9 or whatever, right? And he would do parent-teacher conferences, and there were always those kids that would like act up in class. I think this is just like a 5th house sun thing. First of all, acting up in class.
Yeah.
Like, why go to school when you could just have fun all the time? 5th house suns, right?
My life purpose is to express me.
So you would have like a parent-teacher conference with like, let's say this 5th house kid. Like if he was like, yeah, your kid's a little bit blah 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 in class, like not the best, you know, rouse up the class or whatever it may be. And he would get parents that would like defend their kid and be like, no, you cannot like talk ill about my kid. Like they're basically saying that like they're perfect, da, da, da. And that is definitely the perfect example of the kind of parent that would give their kid a 5th house sun. How dare you block their creativity and their self-expression in any way, even if that way is negative. My child is perfect.
Yeah, so it's all about that child. The parent just gave the child everything. Like nothing can get in the way of what the child needs. Like,
or wants, even just wants. It just makes them happy. That fills their ego. Nothing can get in the way if something fulfills their ego. And that's how the parent parented that kid, right?
Yeah.
Was that you come first.
Yes.
So then they get that in them that I always come first. And that gives a 5th house sun great confidence and a great sense of who they are. Their ego is so much in everything that they make. It can be an even stronger ego than a Leo sun sometimes. When it's in the 5th house, it's how you were treated as a kid. You know what I mean? Like you were given that as a kid. A Leo sun might not have gotten that as a kid, so they might have a different relationship with being the center of attention.
A Leo sun can always be in another house. Next is moon in the 5th house. The kind of person who is going to put their emotions into the artwork or whatever creativity that they do. It's going to come out of an emotional need to express. It's kind of a good place to have your moon because it's set up so that your moon has an outlet.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. These are people that really like, I need to create from the inside of who I am. And these people can also feel this inner need to have a kid as well. They can feel very connected to children, do very well with children because children express that 5th house creativity that makes them feel good and be able to escape into the land of lightheartedness.
The 5th house is a lot about the moment. You know, that's why it's romance and not long-term romance, but you know, sex and all that stuff. It's because it's about the moment, and creativity is about the moment. It's just something that pulls you into the present.
You're very much able to live in the moment in the sense of, this is fun right now. Who cares about all these other troubles I have? I am, you know, drawing this picture. I'm playing with my little sister even. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
And that's the way that children do behave.
Your mother was probably somebody who very much instilled that in you. She could have been very expressive with her emotions.
Someone who wears their heart on their sleeve for sure.
Oh yeah, these people can get immediately wrapped up with the people that they get involved with. Like these are the kind of people that can't just have that one night stand because they know that they get emotionally connected to anybody that they just even fool around with.
But I think there's like no pretense there. You know, I think that someone with their moon in the 5th house is very aware that they are that way, and they're gonna, you know, put it out on the line and be like, hey, listen, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm gonna go for this, but know that I am going for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think this is definitely the placement of like the tortured artist. You know what I mean? A 5th house moon. Like if it's in like a water placement or an earth placement. Mercury in the 5th house. This is somebody, oh, what a great public speaker. Everybody that I know with this, they know how to present, they know how to give a presentation, they know how to just kind of speak to the public.
Your creative outlet is more likely to be writing and speaking and poetry than it is to be tactical arts.
This is somebody I think that would have a journal. And, you know, just like write all the fun stuff that happened. Your analytical mind is a lot more free than most. But I think you're just going to be somebody who doesn't need to write from their personal experience. You can write about many different kinds of people, I think, because of that duality of Mercury. And there's a certain detachment that comes with it as well. Your mind doesn't have as many boundaries that I think some Mercury placements can.
Yeah, and learning is fun to you.
Oh,
People are fun to you.
Talking, just fun group conversations are your favorite. You probably are great at group conversations.
If you're going to write, maybe you're going to write dialogue-based things that are about the characters.
Very wordy. And you want people to see the picture that you see kind of situation. You're going to use words to make people feel things. You
might be really into Shakespeare because of the heightened language of it.
Poetry. Venus in the 5th house. Now, I think that this can be one of the best placements for Venus just because there is such a love for expressing yourself and a love for being who you are and being this charming person. These are very attractive people. These are people that, not in this magnetism sense, but in this lightness of like, just what a nice presence to be around. They don't want any conflict in their fun time. These are people that grew up and they were given a lot of praise, a lot of good things were said to them,
especially about their
very complimented, yes. And like Nina said, a big focus on the person's beauty, but this can also make it an obsession to where if you're not the most beautiful person in the room, you're gonna have an issue. These are people that couldn't handle having a zit. You know what I mean? These are people that can't handle, like if you're just having a fun fling, the second somebody brings a little bit of conflict, a little bit of seriousness, maybe a little bit of Mars, a little bit of Pluto, any of those negative malefic stuff, you're like, no.
I think that goes back to like the world owes me peace and beauty and nothing but. And so anything other than peace and beauty and harmony is very distressing and can aggravate Venus in the 5th house.
But these are very vocal lovers. They're definitely not going to be the kind of people who hold back. Quick to go into things, very, very flirtatious. These are the flirts of the zodiac.
This can lighten up a deeper Venus like Scorpio.
It just might be a big flirt and a tease. You don't get very far with them, but boy, do they tease you.
Or you're always in a relationship, but it's not always a serious relationship. You can have halfway houses between serious boyfriends.
Jump from relationship to relationship because you love the beginning of a relationship. The second that it moves into something a bit more serious, depending on your other placements, you might feel a little different about it.
And that's back to the anything but peace, harmony, love is not okay with you. And as you know, if you know, when you get into a relationship, there is of course the butterflies and blah blah blah, but the bulk of a relationship is not the peace and love and always
the honeymoon phase.
A lot of it is, you know, teamwork, and teamwork makes the dream work. But teamwork has a lot of, you
butting
know,
heads.
Or just working through conflict, working through things. Hey, listen, 5th house influence people, like majorly 5th house influence people, life isn't all a box of chocolates. Or rainbows and sunshines and
I think people with this kind of placement, like Venus and the Sun, can be very starry-eyed about the world and very naive to the world because it's that childlike thing. They're still stuck in that childlike when you're not in the 8th house yet. You don't know all the dark stuff that the world has to offer. You're constantly living in this kind of ignorant childhood fun feeling. Venus and the 5th house people I think are also most fashionable people, I'm gonna say. Not in the sense of conventionally, but just in the sense of these are gonna people that unapologetically express their fashion sense. You know what I mean?
Own their style.
Own who they are, own what they like, want to share it with everybody. Mars in the 5th house.
We were just dragging this.
Yeah. So the good thing about Mars in the 5th house is it gives such a drive and passion to live your life to the fullest. These are people who do not hold back. Yeah, and are really willing to dive deep into things, like dive into love, dive into art, dive into the kids that they have. They are just passionate people. But this can also obviously cause a lot of turbulence in that. So maybe they're a little too passionate. These are people that
overwhelming.
These are people that are, honestly, I think more than any, Mars in the sign, Mars in the 5th house is going to be the most likely to have a lot of sexual partners, hook up with a lot of different people, just because sex is not very serious to you. It's
sex
just
is in the
fun.
house of fun. And so it's fun.
Yeah, but that also gives you very high expectations for sex, because sex always has to be the most fun, in the moment, not too serious, just I need to enjoy myself to the utmost degree, so that can put a lot of pressure on the partner.
Yeah, the 5th house again is peace, love, harmony, fun, all like positive Leo stuff, and anything but is not okay.
Yeah, and it also is a Leo house, so it's also very selfish.
Yes, they just won't consider your feelings.
Right,
You know, they're there for the fun, and that's what they're there for. What you're there for couldn't matter to them.
No. Oh, Mars in the 5th house, you're probably a very crazy child.
Yeah.
And your children are going to be very hard to handle. They're just going to be little maniacs running around. You're going to be like,
So what we were saying in the drag as well is, you know, you're going to have kids and they're going to be wild and crazy and oh my god, and then your parents are going to be like, see, this is what you get. This is what I dealt with.
Yeah. This is somebody who's going to find a lot of intense passion and even fighting in romance. They're going to find that even just this quick little fling, it's not just a quick little fling, it's this happened and then this might happen and there's a story and this and that and that. It's all so dramatic.
It can't be boring. Got to have some
Spark. It can't get stagnant.
Yes.
You do not like stagnant relationships. And you might start drama just to stir shit up because the relationship is boring you, because you need that constant stimulation. And this is also somebody who needs a constant creative outlet and needs to express themselves. Like, that is their spirit of where they find their lust for life, is by expressing themselves and by being creative.
Jupiter in the 5th house is just so extra.
Oh yes!
Extra.
Oh my
is
god.
the word. In their emotional expression, it's all so extra. It's like it's gotta be a performance.
These are the people that show up to a little party in a fucking boa, and they're like, I am here.
Just like, oh, what happened? He tried to help me carry my groceries up the stairs, and I'm a militant feminist, and so I slapped him across the face and pushed him down the stairs.
And said, I carry my own groceries.
Everything is such a big deal to these people, and they've got to express it like it is the most life or death situation out there.
But these people know how to have fun. These are going to be such a lighthearted presence, in a certain way non-judgmental in the way that people express themselves.
Yes.
Very accepting people, but they also need a lot of attention.
Yes.
And they were given a lot of attention growing up. They probably want a lot of kids, or they'll have a lot of kids. They're just going to have like this big family. They don't want to be around you if you are at all dull to them, if you would all slow them down, and if you don't let them be free.
And if you don't give them enough attention,
Right.
if like you're not serving
Right.
your purpose to, you know, be there for them, it's like, leave. No. I have no use for you. You're not serving the purpose of inflating
Queens and kings of the zodiac.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then these are the kind of people in art who are going to write, you know, that kind of slam poetry performance art. The first time I had my period.
Yeah. They're just a big presence. And this can be very fun, but it can also overindulge. These are people that are quick to overindulge in fun. And they can only be on this world to have fun, which is great, but also they can have trouble taking things seriously, doing the nitty-gritty, doing anything that they don't find as a positive self-expression to themselves.
Dealing with any obstacles.
Oh,
They're like,
yeah.
What are those? I never experienced those.
Yeah, on to Saturn in the 5th house. Ugh. So this is somebody who has such a drive to create and is so serious about it, but that's also their downfall, is that
nothing's ever perfect. This is an absolute perfectionist.
Like, let's say something like Harry Potter, right? If J.K. Rowling had a 5th house Saturn, she wouldn't sit down and write. She spent forever completely fleshing out the world of Harry Potter and making sure that she knows every single little detail and no stone is left unturned, and she can get so obsessed with making sure that everything in this book is perfect and just how she wants it that she would never have released Harry Potter.
And what's going to happen in every single chapter, you know, outline everything to the point where the actual writing of the book is just filling in the blanks of everything that you've already said. It's very organized in that way and disciplined.
And these people are very committed to their creativity in the sense that they're not going to stop writing that book. They're going to finish it, but it's going to take so much out of them. It's not going to be fun anymore. It's just going to be this terrible burden that they carry with them. And then once it's done, it's never going to be to their expectations.
Exactly. Nothing is ever good enough.
These are people that just don't know how to have fun in general.
Yeah.
They can be a little bit of a stick in the mud, and you can tell it's not because they want to, but it's just because when they were growing up, they were not allowed to express themselves freely. These are people that are going to be very controlled on how they dress, very controlled on what they like. They're going to be scared to branch out too far, and they're going to be scared to do anything too out of the box and make anything too out of the box, I think.
Well, also it's because they have very high expectations for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's not because they're not talented. It's not because they can't do that. It's not because they're not thinking. It's because they have that Saturn restriction on them.
Yeah, and that very disciplined, like, this is the road to my expectation.
Right, yeah.
And now when it comes into parenting, this is very much like the first thing that comes to mind is the movie Lady Bird, her mother.
Saturn in the 5th house is going to be kind of a stick in the mud person.
Yeah.
They have a lot of lessons to learn through expressing themselves. And this is something, as every Saturn placement, that as you get older, you'll find that you can really thrive in the house of creativity because you are so much more disciplined than most people are when they express themselves. And that could be a negative thing for most of your life, but it could also turn into a positive of you're able to produce these great works because you have this discipline that most people don't have with creativity. Saturn in the 5th house people take romance very seriously. These are very committed people, very loyal people. They're not one to jump into things very easily.
Yeah.
So they're going to have fewer partners and longer relationships.
You know, the 5th house is where things get started. And it's hard to get things started with a planet that's all about, like, the end product.
These people are also going to have major self-esteem issues, too. Uranus in the 5th house. What a quirky person you are.
Yes. So definitely, however you express yourself, it's going to be in, you know, you're going to pick a medium and then do something out of the box in that medium, you know, and it's just going to have a little bit of uniqueness, quirkiness.
These people are going to just have the most unconventional romantic life.
Yes.
Like they're going to be in and out of things, with who and under what circumstance. If something is weird with a weirdo, you're going to just dive into it. You know what I mean?
They've got to have some kind of novelty to, you know, go for it.
And then you can be like, guys, I hooked up on the beach with this guy with one leg. It was fucking crazy. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like, why? And you're like, because it was
a story.
I'm expressing my weirdness.
Yeah.
These people are going to make very unconventional things. People that are very innovative, creative-wise. I see Uranus in the 5th house as people that homeschool their kids, but in the way of, there's like a TED talk about that kid that was like homeschooled, but it was like anti-school. He like learned through these weird experiences. Hack schooling. That's what it was. 5th house Uranus is a total like hack schooler. You can have a very inconsistent childhood as well, and an inconsistent self-expression. Like I feel like these are people that can go through periods of extreme creativity and then into detachment from creativity.
Yes, it's very erratic. So your love life is inconsistent, your creative expression is inconsistent. There is a little bit of insecurity that comes with Uranus too. So because it's so like new, it's never been done before. You want to
stand out.
Yeah, you want to do things that you've never done before, but there's obviously not a lot of security in that, so there can be a little insecurity.
Neptune in the 5th house. These are such creative souls. From the depth of who you are, you know that you can just make these just insanely emotionally driven, spiritually driven, intense in the sense that it comes from the soul.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And everything you make is going to be clouded around this air of mystery and disillusionment. So everybody's going to kind of have their own opinion on what you create and that kind of stuff. These are also people who can very much be very starry-eyed in romance.
Yes.
They love the chase and the pick you up and go to dinner here, and
also very much wear their heart on their sleeve.
Yeah.
Neptune also rules the unconscious, so I kind of think of Neptune as also ruling inspiration, kind of a divine download.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of unconscious thing, and then it's channeled into the 5th house, which is very tactical.
Yeah.
Of expressing and creating.
It can be very starry-eyed in romance.
Yes.
It can be very misleading to the sense of
Rose-tinted glasses.
Yes.
You can paint something for something that it's not.
yeah, these are people that I think are going to be very drug-prone, escapism-prone, because that's how they have fun.
Yeah.
They have fun through escaping. They have fun through not being in this world. To them, like, creativity comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So they need to be in an altered state to sometimes
have
be the
fun.
most creative. Like, if you've seen the art series of the guy who like did a self-portrait on all the different kinds of drugs, that's very much, I'm thinking, like a Neptune in the 5th house thing. That's also that tortured artist
Neptune is
thing.
boundless.
Yeah.
That's why it's very easy to get carried away.
Yeah, you know, you don't just like this band. This represents so much more than you could even start to explain in words, you know? Kids with Neptune in the 5th house, you can idealize your kids.
Yeah, they're going to inherit this kind of Neptunian nature.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to be a very disciplined parent.
No, you
That's
kinda
gonna be-
let your kid-
You're the good cop.
Yeah, you're like,
You
let's
gotta
let
get
the
other
kid roam
person.
free. Let's let them
The
learn
bad
from
cop.
their experiences. They'll be fine.
Yeah, it's really hard for you to take responsibility. You're just kind of like, leave it to God. The source energy, you
Yeah.
know, whatever you want to call it, will take care of my children.
Lastly, we have Pluto in the 5th house, which we do have.
Yes. And honestly, I've been thinking about it. So you gotta have Pluto somewhere, you know?
That's true.
Put it in the 5th house. Why not? It's a malefic planet. It's gotta go somewhere.
Pluto in the 5th house can create a big obsession with creativity, and it can definitely make it feel like being creative and expressing yourself is your life purpose. Going deep into yourself and finding who you are at the core and showing that to everyone else is definitely like a life path, and that these people can be very connected to having kids as well. Having kids is a very transformative experience, a very intense experience.
You're gonna put your whole heart, soul, past, everything on the line in whatever that you express. Everything that you express and create is gonna be deeply personal to you.
The only way you can express your Pluto is through the things that you create.
Yes.
You have to show people these finished pieces. Pluto in the 5th house people are good at creating something and then destroying it.
Yes.
You know, that's a very theater thing. You make this huge thing and then you destroy it to never be seen again.
Or you can also be resurrecting things. You can always take things from your past creative projects and thinking about how you can reinvent them.
Right.
Whatever you create is gonna have those themes of transformation. It can be that you really need to talk about death in the things that you create, or that a lot of things revolve around sex.
These people can get very obsessed with things. Like, me and Nina both have a tendency to like one thing, like it really intensely for a long time. These are people that are very passionate about their hobbies.
Yes.
They don't just have these little hobbies that they do. Astrology is a hobby for us, but obviously it's taken over a big part of our life.
Yeah, it's also an identifying factor for us. When I was a kid, I needed to have a favorite something, and I felt like I was betraying that favorite something if I had a favorite of anything else. This is my favorite movie.
Yeah, people with Pluto in the 5th house are going to have hidden love affairs. These are going to be people with very secret crushes. These people can get into something that's very casual, very 5th housey, and it can turn very intense and very Pluto
very fast,
very quickly. And it's going to be transformative. Whenever you're with somebody or just doing some little project, it's not just some little project. It's not just a little quick hookup. It's a transformative experience.
Yeah. There's almost this feeling of like, both in romance and in creativity, what's the point if I'm not giving it my all?
Yeah.
But we do not half-ass anything. Children. Pluto in the 5th house actually lends itself to someone who would be open to adopting, because there's that aspect of you're taking this child and giving them a new life. Because it's very intense, you can react very protectively towards your children and just love them so much that it's almost stifling, and it doesn't always come off as like a smothering, like giving them a 5th house sun kind of thing. It's just a very strong love and always wanting to do what's best to protect your child. And it's not always an easy kind of love to receive.
Yeah, these people probably had a pretty protective childhood. Like I had a dad that was pretty protective of me. Also, it's going to be a lot harder to fully let yourself go as far as self-expression is, because Pluto is such an intense planet that it can make it harder to have fun, because if you have fun, you're going to the deep end of fun. You're not slightly scratching the surface, you are fucking going balls deep into fun, man. But it can make fun also very intense and not fun, because fun can be overwhelming and all-consuming.
Yeah, fun to some people, like,
and it can lead to obsession, and it's just
fun to some people is just not fun to us.
Okay, so that was our 5th house video. Next up is the 6th house, a very different tone to the 5th house. But that's all for today. Okay. Bye. 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 Bye.